Welcome to the Aesthetics Today podcast, the premier platform where we explore the ever-evolving landscape of aesthetic treatments, regenerative medicine, and cutting-edge beauty products and technology.
Andrew, I have been seeing you now for, dare I say, 19 years. It's a long time. How do you think Bodyvie as a company has changed in that time?
It's evolved in many ways. We started off in central London and then opened a clinic in Richmond. And I think that's where you first came on. So we've been here for 20 years now.
You were one of the first clinics to see women as a whole, weren't you? It's many people do this now, but you were really one of the very first.
We've evolved into that. We started off just with an IPL and then a laser and then another laser. And then we started working with injectables. First of all with fillers and then Botox. So everything that we have done has evolved gradually. We've tried to be broad-based. Yeah. When I was young, I was told if you're ever going to sit on a stool, make certain it's got 3 legs. So we've tried to have a broad base in terms of the treatments that we offer. And we've expanded them. We've gone with the latest technology. And I think we are at the front. In some areas, we're well ahead of most of the other clinics in the UK at the moment.
So all those years ago, how did Bodyvie start?
It was Barbara's concept. Barbara's my wife, and she was the fund holding manager when we were in general practice. It started with a laser or an IPL, and from there it just evolves. The whole market has changed. And we've been picked up just like the surfers are picked up. We've just been carried by this wave. We've expanded our base. We've expanded the treatments. We've expanded our patient base as well. And we have people who've been coming to us now for 20 years.
Including myself.
Including myself.
I said 19, but I'm starting to do my maths and think it really is 20 years.
It is.
So you were at the forefront of this type of care for women.
We were. And we were also one of the first clinics to be outside of London till I think the late 1990s. Most of the services were available in town, so you had to travel into town. From about the late 1990s, clinics started emerging where the demand was, which is out in the suburbs, in the villages, in the small towns.
Tell me about how your skin products came about.
Having got into medical aesthetics, it was a natural thing to get involved with skincare products because that's your first line. We used a number of different ranges and we could appreciate their failings and their benefits. And we thought that we could, and I think we could do better. So we took the best, built on those to the formulations that we now have. We listened to the feedback we had from the patients as well, be it about the colour, the smell, and we've modified according to what the patients want. And they like it. And they enjoy it and they come back and they buy it. So we've got something right. And where they've come along and said, well, we don't like that smell, we've gone and changed it. The ingredients, I think, are top notch. The packaging is now improved even better and is even more.
So where do you start when it comes to making your own products?
Well, one, you've got to find a manufacturer. So we did actually go to a number of companies in the States. We had discussions with them. We then told them exactly what we wanted, what ingredients we wanted, what concentrations we wanted, and they then sent us samples that we tried. And then we finally got to the point where we were buying in bulk. And that's what we've been doing since. We've modified the formulas as we've gone along, depending on the feedback that we've had. And it's from simple things like, some people didn't like the smell of this, so we've changed it into something that's more acceptable, that people are happier with.
And what about the practicality of using your range? Because I personally don't like anything that's complicated.
No, it's not complicated. It's not a big range, but it's got the most important ingredients and it's got the most important applications as well. Not just the vitamin A and the vitamin C, but also for acne. We've got exfoliators, we've got moisturizers, we've got tints. We've got a small range, but very effective.
And your customer, and I know obviously from personal experience, many have been with you for all the time that you've been Bodyvie. But could you describe your typical customer? Or is she just sitting in front of you?
I think you probably are. There is no typical customer. We've seen all the age groups, but I think particularly between sort of 30, 50, 60, that's where the majority of our patients lie.
So you've had many customers over the years and you have grown with them and you've listened to them. What are the typical things that they ask of you?
They want to look better. They want to be more self-confident. They want to have more self-esteem. And we're just there to facilitate them.
And looking better isn't just about vanity, is it?
No, it's about feeling better. It's about that inner self. And yes, looking good is important, but how you feel inside is even more important.
And tell me about the menopause, because, and it's a value that I put on Bodyvie, is that often people come in here and they're talking about their skin or their hair or what they feel is going wrong. But you can often get to the root of the problem, can't you?
We can. We know where it all starts. It starts when you're in your 20s. It starts with exposure to the sun. It starts with not using sun protection. But really, from your early 20s, you're losing collagen and elastin at about 1% per year, and it carries on. And then you get to the menopause and you drop off a cliff. Instead of 1 year loss, 1% loss per year, you go to 6%. So there's a rapid deterioration after the menopause, which is why HRT and its benefits are so important. HRT on its own has immense benefits, preventing osteoporosis, cardiovascular problems, stabilizing your sugar. Byproducts are that you maintain your collagen much better. You may still lose it, but it's slowed down.
And that goes for your hair and your nails. In fact, there's hormones.
That's right.
We are one hormone, walking hormone.
Absolutely. The obvious hot flushes, night sweats, sleep problems, but it's all the other ones as well. Anxiety, panic attacks, dry skin, dry tissues everywhere, dry eyes.
So would you say now that you treat holistically your patients more and more?
I think we've always treated holistically, perhaps more so now than before. But my history and my training is that I was in general practice for 33 years, which is all about continuity of care. It's changed now, but about families. You'd have 2-3 generations registered in the practice. So it was that continuity in the knowledge and everything else that went with it. And hopefully we've brought that into the clinic as well. General practice is exactly what it is. It's a bit of everything. I had a number of years working for women's services in Ealing and Southall. I then had a working career in general practice, providing women's services as well, including family planning, including fitting coils and IUDs. This is no different. That's a holistic approach. This is as well. We're looking after not just the skin, we're looking after the person. And we've never lost track of that.
And how important are hormones in the health of your skin?
Very. There are hormone-sensitive organs, bone, skin, the best examples. Estrogen helps to protect the cardiovascular system by raising the good cholesterol, and especially the transdermals will actually lower the bad cholesterols as well. So you get this effect.
So you can help a woman here with not only her hormones, get those balanced through your knowledge, but also the externally with the skin as well.
Yes, that's a byproduct. That's not really the reason to go onto HRT. The reason is because you have symptoms that need to be controlled. The reason is that the person understands the benefits. They also have to understand the risks, because there are some. But on balance, the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. So in actual fact, every woman should go onto HRT, whether they have severe, moderate, mild, or no symptoms of the menopause.
Are you still surprised at the lack of knowledge that's out there available to women?
Yes. And it's partly because a lot of the research is difficult to understand. It takes years to analyse, and it's changing all the time. You'll have studies that conflict. So you've got to take a view. Which do you believe? Which don't you believe? Who's got it right? Who's got it wrong?
Do you think people still today want to pretend it's not happening?
I think some do. My mother didn't have any HRT, so I won't. Not me personally, but...
Do you think that because you are seeing a lot of people in an age group who are baby boomers of the 60s, we are not our mother's daughters, we are not going to shut up and pot up?
No, absolutely.
We expect more.
Yeah, and you should do. The media hasn't helped in the past, of course, because they want to sell papers. So they go for the big headlines, and the big headlines put people off, sadly. And 2002 was a prime example. HRT linked to breast cancer. 36% of women who were going through the menopause were on HRT. 6 months later, it was 6%. And even now, we haven't recovered. We're still below 20% in the UK. In Europe, apparently, it's about 10%. So there are somewhere between 80 and 90% of women who could benefit that aren't.
And by not benefiting, their lives are not as enriched.
That's right. On every aspect. Mortality. Big study, 400,000 women, 2 groups. One group on HRT or had been on HRT, the other hadn't. Which had the highest mortality rate? The ones who hadn't been on HRT. So you're investing in your health, you're investing in your future, and you're investing in your longevity.
But also having a productive life, a good life, a life where you're not having things like osteoporosis, which is it's frightening, the amount of damage that can do to your body, and how limiting you will be as an older woman.
That's right. 5 years post-menopause, the average woman has lost 20% of her bone mass. And that's going to carry on. It's going to carry on year on year on year. And yes, you end up with a hip fracture, you end up in hospital, you end up with pneumonia, you die. You end up with a blood clot, you have pulmonary embolus, you die. Or you're just not as healthy. I mean, the HRT gives you energy, sex drive, potentially. If just the 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone, don't, then you can always throw in some testosterone as well.
I know personally the difference that it has made to me being on HRT and also the testosterone. So I am a big champion of yours and everybody who advocates body identical HRT. So women who sit here in this chair that I'm sitting in now, you are able to talk to them about their general health, their hormone health, and also introduce them to the machines downstairs.
That's right.
And the magic cupboard. Tell me about the magic cupboard.
We are strong advocates of skincare starting really.
Can we just say I call it the magic cupboard? It's not really called the magic cupboard.
80%, or it used to be, the kids don't go out as much anymore, but it used to be 80% of your sun damage occurred by the time you were 18. They're all playing on their computers now, so it'll probably be 50%. But a lot of the damage occurs when you're young because you just don't bother. However, what we do know is that the skin has been damaged and we need to, one, prevent. So we are strong advocates of all year round sun protection. We're strong advocates of strong antioxidants like vitamin C, again as a serum, applied topically. Retinol or vitamin A, which does a number of things, including stimulating collagen and controlling the pigment cells, with vitamin C also helping to repair the DNA. But its most important function is that it speeds up the turnover of cells, and you end up with smaller, finer cells getting to the surface. You end up with better skin. It's a good place to start, it's a good place to finish, but that's going to improve the quality of the skin that we're going to be working with further down the line.
And what I love about your products is that it's not complicated.
No.
That's
It's pretty simple.
I use really about 4 things. That's it. That's all I need.
That's probably all you need to use. Different skin problems may require different applications of different products, but yeah, you can get by with a small range and you can end up with much better quality skin.
So you haven't made it complicated and you haven't spent a huge amount of money on packaging and advertising.
No.
So all the money has gone into the jar.
That's right.
And on my face.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Tell me about what you love about your job.
I like the continuity. I like the fact that people are happy. For many years, I didn't find it very challenging, I must admit, which is why I only retired from general practice 2 years ago, because that was the challenge. If you're doing Botox all the time, it's pretty repetitive. But yes, it brings satisfaction to people. So, and everybody's well, as opposed to in general practice, everybody thinks they're unwell. And here, everybody's well. They just want to look better and feel better. And we're helping them to do that.
So do you personally have more joy in your job because you have brought everything you've learned from general practice and working with women from all these years into the aesthetics?
It's not just working with women. I've brought a lot of things from general practice, and I had a number of areas that I had developed, such as minor ops. Today, lots of procedures are deemed to be aesthetic, cosmetic, and therefore the NHS won't do them. We're providing a private minor operations facility. We're CQC registered, and we do minor ops here. Sebaceous cysts, different types of cysts, moles. We send them off for histology if they're suspicious. We do joint injections with steroids, with PRP, with hyaluronic acid. We treat people who've got keloid scars, different scars, with steroid injections with PRP as well. We recently had a lady who came in with a torn earlobe that we repaired because earring had cut through. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, she felt very self-conscious, and now we've managed to repair that. It's going to heal up nicely. And these are all things that the NHS doesn't cover.
You talk about people being self-conscious. How much of a difference do you personally see in women when they've come with something, and it might be minor to everybody else, but it's big to you?
Yeah.
How do you see them change when they have that fixed?
They smile. It's as simple as that. They walk out with a big smile on their face.
And often do people come in for one thing and then you've pointed out something else to them and we had a series of things done?
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. With the minor ops, perhaps not so much because it's about a specific problem that they've come in with. But with skin itself, it's easy to actually get onto the topic of through skincare, Skin Aid, Profilo, different injectables. You can easily then go on to the menopause, and even if they're not quite there, if they're not even perimenopausal, but just to prepare them, because they should all have a view. They should have thought about what they're going to do when they get to that point. And that group, in actual fact, between sort of 40 and 55, are the group with the highest unexpected pregnancy rate. So we ask about contraception as well, just to make certain they're using something reliable and not just cross fingers.
So, as obviously a patient of yours, I always feel that I can come here and it's not sort of 10 minutes and I'm on the clock. I can actually sit down and not only ask you, but ask a lot of the people who work here about my various worries.
This is not the NHS, it's private.
Yeah.
So, yes, people are given time, and you can afford to give them time. When I went into general practice, there were 32,000 GPs in the country. There's been a population explosion, and there are 29,000 GPs now. The government promised another 5,000, but even that's not going to be enough. And where are they going to get them? There's no time in general practice. Perhaps that's why general practice doesn't treat menopause as well as it could or should. But here we've got the time. We can create the time.
I know myself that I might be in for a facial and I'm chatting to whoever's doing my treatment about other little problems that I might have. And before I know it, I'm sitting talking to you.
Good.
So there seems to be a lot of, what shall we call it?
Cross-advising.
Absolutely, cross-advising, knowing that you're with an expert.
Yes.
I'm not talking to my hairdresser about it.
And always bearing in mind that some people will respond better than others to specific treatments. So if one isn't working as well as you would have expected it to, you can move on to something else, or you can run them in parallel. And we have had combination treatments in the past where they've had microneedling, radio frequency and laser, and that's part of a package because they seem to work together. A lot of the time we haven't worked out which particular one has been the most effective, but they've worked very well together hand in hand. We have new members of staff, and at the beginning they shadow me. They come in for the consultations, they come in for the treatment, so they'll have heard. A lot of this is repetitive. They will have heard what's being said, what's being done. They've got first-hand experience, and they can pass that on. And then, of course, we sit down with them and train them, but there's nothing to replace that, hands-on.
Oh, there's a deep amount of knowledge here. I know that from myself, which is why I always recommend that my friends come here, because I know that they're going to be in safe hands all the time. What is your personal joy then when somebody comes in here? Probably they haven't previously had any treatments at all, maybe just had the odd facial and a bikini wax, and then they come here because they really are feeling under the weather. What's your joy when they leave Bodyvie?
Well, first of all, what are we? We're more like a supermarket. You go into a supermarket and you've got shelves packed full of goodies. We're just like that. It's a question of them selecting the treatments themselves. We're not prescriptive. We very much work with the patient. We'll tell them the benefits and disadvantages, but it's ultimately for them to decide. We'll put together structures for them, but we're trying to be proactive with them.
What is, do you think, unique about Bodyvie?
Warmth, inclusiveness, a facilitative approach to each and every patient, helping them to decide. That's what we do. Some people will come in and say, I want this and this, I've had this before. That's fine. But with everybody else, it's a question of sitting down and you come to a decision as to what is best, but not an imposed decision. It's a two-way process.
But you are surrounded here, and I know as a patient, with some amazing information and therapists who really do know what they're talking about.
Yes.
And I value that.
Thank you.
And they've even sometimes said, no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And I go, well, thank you.
No, we say that a lot of the time.
Yes.
And just remember, in the general population, the incidence of dysmorphia is about 1.2, 1.3%. Walking through our door, it's somewhere between 5 and 15%. People who have altered perceptions of their own image. Not easy to spot, especially if they're new patients. Once you've seen them a few times, you might get the inkling that they are dysmorphic. But it's very difficult because they will hide their dysmorphia because they want a treatment, they want something that may not be completely appropriate for them.
I hear quite often, oh, you don't need anything. Why don't you just grow gracefully? What's your answer to that?
You don't have to. If you look better, you feel better. So why not just enjoy it? If it's going to make you feel better.
Can I just talk to you about injectables? What do you think the fears are about these?
There are some horror stories out there, and things such as necrosis, tissue dying, blindness, very, very rare. But they are very dangerous complications, unfortunately. There are lots of minor ones as well. These are procedures, and things can go wrong, and you have to accept that, however good and experienced the injector is. With Botox, people are scared that they're going to be frozen. They don't realise that they're actually driving the bus, and they can decide if they're going to have 99% movement or 0. And it's for them to decide. We will try to adhere to their wishes.
Let's talk first of all about Botox. It's been around for many, many years now, and it does make a great difference to your face if you use it correctly.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on Botox?
Well, seeing as at least 40% of our business is Botox, very positive. We've been doing it for a long time. I think we're quite experienced. We have knowledge of most of the brands of botulinum toxin. Majority are botulinum A, but we also use the botulinum B. And again, it is insurance. When do you start? You start when action lines become passive lines. You cross that line from being young and having lots of collagen and lots of elastin to being a little bit older, and the lines that used to vanish don't anymore, and they're now passive lines. And that's the time to start using it because it'll stop those lines getting any deeper.
And that's different with everybody, is it?
Everybody's different. The amount that people require varies by a factor of 20. The speed of onset and the duration also vary. Everybody's different. The same way that some people are 4'6" and others are 7'6". The dosing, the duration, the onset, they're all going to be different for different people.
And that's why you come to somebody who has an overall view of all types of Botox.
That's right. And the anatomy always helps. Muscles work in pairs. And if you just inject into one muscle, you're going to get a response. The other muscle's going to be winning. So it's a question of working out the balance as well.
And so if you had to describe how Botox can benefit a face, how would you describe that?
I suppose it makes it look a little bit more youthful. If you're a person who frowns all the time, you're going to have the 11s. You're going to have those two glabellar lines. It makes you look angry. So it'll make them look better. They'll be happy with themselves.
But Botox in the wrong hands is not good.
No. Because you can run into problems. Statistically, it's going to happen. Droopy eyelids, facial weakness, problems with speech, they can all occur.
Why would you come to Bodyvie to have Botox done?
Because we've got 20 years worth of experience. It's as simple as that. We know what we're doing. We know the anatomy. We know the products. We know how each of the different products acts and behaves, and when to use one as opposed to another.
And Botox is something that makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference. It makes a big difference. People feel fresher. Let's go through for patients coming in with bruxism, teeth grinding. You can inject for that. You can alter the shape of the face. You can slender it by decreasing the mass of the masseters. There are so many things that you can do. You can lift the corners of the mouth. You can get rid of gummy smiles. Not just lines on the forehead, but gummy smiles are when people smile and you can see most of their gums because the top lip retracts way above the teeth.
Fillers, something else that's widely talked about that you do here.
Yes. As you age, you've probably noticed that the face changes. You lose volume in certain areas. We use the fillers to replace that volume. The way we treat has changed over the past 15, 20 years. We used to just approach a line and inject into the line. We don't. We approach it from a completely different aspect, and that is volume. If we can replace the volume, you're going to increase the skin tension. You're going to then decrease the depth of those lines. Not by injecting into the line anymore, but injecting, let's say, into the cheek itself to give it the volume that it used to have. And again, the fat pads under gravity with age will start slipping. We're trying to pull everything back up.
And what other things do you offer that are injectable that you do here?
We do a lot of biomodulators, biostimulators.
A lot of people, including myself, have used Profilo. Just explain exactly what that is.
Profilo is a stabilized hyaluronic acid. Now, you and I produce hyaluronic acid. It's not stabilized. It'll last about 7 days. Pharmaceutical companies use hyaluronic acid in a lot of the fillers. And what they do is they use those hyaluronic acid molecules as building blocks, and they put synthetic bonds between them. The more bonds, the bigger the molecule, and therefore you can use it as a filler for the cheeks. If you're using a filler for the lips, you don't want as many bonds because you want some flexibility. So that's the filler side. Profilo is not a filler. Profilo is a stabilized hyaluronic acid that's stabilized by combining low and high molecular weight and changing from something that's only going to last 7 days to something that's going to last 5 to 6 months. And it's a hydrator. It's a molecule that binds onto water. And weight for weight, one hyaluronic acid will bind 1,000 times its own weight in water. So it's very, very powerful as a hydrator. The other property that it has is that it's a small molecule and it diffuses. And Profilo is an intradermal injection where you inject into a number of sites from which the Profilo will diffuse through the dermis, hydrating it. So that's the first effect you have, is the hydration. But the other one is the biostimulation. It stimulates your own cells that produce collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid into production. And they will sit there for 3-4 months just churning out collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid. Now, elastin and collagen will last probably somewhere between 300 and 500 days. So you're going to have a gradual build-up of support for the dermis and thickening of the dermis. So you've rehydrated it, you've then supported it as it's got thicker. That increases the skin tension. The skin tension will pull everything up, so the sagginess will go. Fine lines and wrinkles caused by the skin dehydrating are going to be removed because you've rehydrated the skin. You have 2 sets of injections a month apart. So after the second injection, you've doubled the hydration. You've also doubled the number of cells that are producing collagen and elastin. At 5-6 months, the hydration starts going. So you come back and you have your next 2 sets of injections. But this time round, you're rehydrating, but you've already got the collagen from before. the extra collagen. So you're building on that. So for the next 3-4 months, you're going to be building even more collagen. And we had a banker lady in who said, I understand, it's compound interest.
So if you were to encapsulate that in real layman's terms, what Profilo does?
It thickens the dermis. It doesn't change your face shape, which a lot of the fillers do, but it's working on just the dermis. It's reversing what time has been taking away. It's putting back the collagen. It's putting back the hyaluronic acid. These are all things that, as we said before, you're losing collagen at 1% per year. You're reversing that. You're going to be younger. Subtly.
Is there anything else that we can do to stop the loss of collagen?
Yes, there's something called Skin Aid, which is a number of vitamins, most of the B's, C, omegas 3 and 6, lysine and amino acid, MSM. But the most important ingredient is hydrolyzed marine collagen, which collagen's a big molecule, has 3 strands of amino acids. When you hydrolyze it, you chop them up into short chains or peptides, and that's what you drink. And these chains resemble your own collagen breakdown products. So the body responds by stimulating, it thinks that your collagen is breaking down faster than it is, and it stimulates collagen production. So you can actually boost the collagen by up to about 24-25%.
Apart from our hormones and obviously topical things that we can all do, there's lifestyle choices that we make which reflect on our skin. What shouldn't we be doing and what should we be doing?
Well, good diet, exercise, don't smoke, limit alcohol, and don't be overweight. We talked earlier on about breast cancer and HRT. Weight is responsible for a much greater increase in breast cancer risk than anything else. Definitely more than HRT. So is wine. So is drinking alcohol. But the greatest of those is the weight.
So we look after our diet. Are there supplements that we should be taking? It's a minefield, and I'm always worried because you think it's a lot of money to spend. Yeah. And if I have a good diet, do I still need supplements?
Yes and no. We live in a country where you don't have that much sun. Vitamin D and calcium. I think over the past 10 years or so, there's been a lot of underdiagnosed vitamin D deficiency, which recently I think we've all started checking vitamin D, and we're trying to rectify that. But again, that can contribute to tiredness. You can contribute to osteoporosis as well. So, yeah, B12, apart from people who've got pernicious anemia, as you get older, your ability to absorb B12 goes down. So again, having B12 supplements, but you're not absorbing it as well. So people can have B12 injections, which is the most direct route.
So we've got vitamin D, B12,
calcium.
So there are all the other things, though, outside of being a Bodyvie that we can try and do to keep our skin looking good.
Yes.
What would you say the most important things that we can do, all of us?
Sun protection.
Mm-hmm.
Environmental factors.
Drinking,
smoking.
Yeah. Exercise.
Lots of exercise if you can.
And what about food? Because we like to think we've got a well-balanced diet, but sometimes it's a bit difficult.
Yeah. People are too rushed. That's the trouble. People are always in a hurry, and takeaway meals, I don't know what's in them. You just buy them, put them in the oven. Perhaps we don't pay enough attention to that.
Of course, though, we can come here and you can look after your patients, but when we go home, what do we need to do to help ourselves?
You need to look after yourselves. basically.
So
As
what
simple
are
as
the
that.
main things that we need to do to look after ourselves when we're not here at Bodyvie?
Sun protection, vitamin C, vitamin A, diet, exercise. Stress, oxidative stress, get rid of it. Learn to relax. Start yoga. Start meditation. These are all going to help, and they're going to improve the quality of your life.
So what lifestyle advice do you give your patients who come to Bodyvie?
Relaxation, exercise, diet. If they're smokers, anybody who's a smoker is told to stop. I think they've been told before, though. And they just carry on. Excessive alcohol, what type of foods they should be eating, the sort of diet. But really, it's ways of avoiding the stress.
And would you say that stress does appear on your face?
Yes, it can
And
do.
more so as you get older?
More so because the skin's aging. So the lines get deeper and they become more permanent. And yes, you're going to be losing volume as well. It may have an effect on your sleep, and therefore you're tired all the time.
So to occasionally treat yourself and consider that those massages and a facial is really benefiting
Yep.
your
Yes.
skin, your equilibrium, the way you feel about yourself.
Yes, escape, go home, music on, and just relax.
Would you say that a little pampering, though, does have its place?
Oh, of course. Of course it does. You can pamper yourself, or somebody can pamper you, or you can pamper somebody.
How do you like people to feel when they come in here, especially for the first time?
At ease. And that's exactly what we try to do. We try to put them at ease, talk to them, find out a little bit about them, see what their expectations are. And that's a good place to start.
What about when people come in here and they are genuinely stressed? They might be going through a very difficult time at home and they are feeling worse. Either way, it's reflected on their face.
And we can discuss their problems. We can discuss their expectations. We can provide treatments that will make them look better, and then they'll feel better. In fact, they've done some research on this, on people who suffered from depression. And the outcome was that botulinum toxin improved depression. And it's not a central function. It's the fact that these people who looked depressed before looked into the mirror after they'd had Botox, and they didn't look as sad as they were before. So it's all about perceptions. It's all about what's looking back at you.
What about ladies who have lost confidence and possibly through divorce?
They need to get their self-esteem back. And a lot of the treatments will actually help with that. They will look in the mirror and they will see somebody that wasn't there yesterday or the day before. And psychologically, it's going to be a big boost. They may have a date coming up. Probably not a good idea to have fillers just before a date because you might end up with bruises. But just the concept, if you pre-plan these things, it's going to be a great confidence booster.
How can you help the customer who has probably found themselves divorced? They may be in their 50s and all of a sudden they're dating again. And this is something that they haven't done for years and years. What does that lady need to help her?
Some confidence.
Yes.
And again, the injectables can give that. There may be other problems depending on the age. Postmenopausally, vaginal atrophy may be a problem.
What's vaginal atrophy?
The vagina has got the highest concentration of estrogen receptors in the body. And once you're postmenopausal, the estrogen support goes. So the vagina dries. Mucosa thins. It may be painful to have intercourse. You may have other symptoms such as stress, incontinence, dryness, pain.
And so all those things you can deal with here.
Yeah, we can. And there are a number of approaches to this. One, HRT. So it's a wonderful opportunity to check on the HRT side. If they're still perimenopausal, to check on the contraception. And you can combine contraception with HRT by using a Mirena, which is a IUS, intrauterine system, that releases a small quantity of progesterone and can be used for up to 5 years. There are other treatments that you can also institute, namely estrogenization of the tissue itself. So there is a 10 microgram pessary that can be inserted for 2 weeks, and then you go on to 1 or 2 per week after that, which will keep the vagina much healthier. It thickens the mucosa, it improves lubrication, it will, or it may, help with some of the other symptoms as well. And there's a strong argument for using the estrogen before if you're contemplating other treatments, be it PRP or laser vaginal treatment.
So there is a whole host of things that you can do to support a woman at that time in her life.
Absolutely.
Where I love the way the Japanese call it your second spring.
Yes.
So I much prefer to say I'm in my second spring.
Yeah. But I think the mainstay, I mean, we've talked about the HRT side, and that's important. You can supplement that, because that may not be sufficient. It may be sufficient just to prevent the osteoporosis and give you your cardiac protection, but it may not be enough to restore the vaginal tissue, the mucosa. And then you do need to estrogenize it. And then you can combine that with laser treatment and, as I said, PRP.
What's PRP?
Platelet-rich plasma, which again will help to stimulate the vaginal mucosa. And there have been some studies in Australia looking at laser on its own, PRP on its own, and a combination of both. And most effective was the combination. But I think it's also a good idea to use the estrogen beforehand, because that's going to prime it, basically.
So these are all other areas that are all covered at Bodyvie.
That's right. We've brought the holistic sort of general practice approach into medical aesthetics, where I think it's been lacking, because up to now, patients have gone to doctors to have Botox fillers, but that continuity has been lacking from the young years right through to your 60s, 70s and 80s. And we have patients who come in, they want to look good, they're in their 80s. Some have got toy boys who are 15 years younger.
It never stops.
And they have a very active, happy life. And again, HRT somehow provides more energy. If you are more energetic, you're stressing your bones. You're making osteoporosis even less likely. So there are so many advantages and benefits.